Hey, it's Adam, and you're listening to The Adam Cobb Show. Weekly content devoted to all things fitness, finding your center, and fumbling through fatherhood. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. We hope this is a space that you come to, that you can feel connected. We're better together. Please subscribe and follow all of our social channels so you don't miss a thing. Let's listen to today's episode. It's November 2024, and I am with a client who's become sort of a business advisor, friend. We're talking about the show, the Adam Cobb Show. She simply reminds me, and she lives this by example. The show that you want to make, I'm asking her about the show, about this show. She said that, the show that you're meant to make is the show that you get to just get all of you sort of out of you. It's how do you get to the truest essence of who you are? That's what you film. She knew that I was having friends come to the beach and putting a harness on and attaching a tire and pulling this tire that weighs 25 pounds, but with that friction ratio against the sand ends up becoming like 50 pounds. When it starts filling up with sand, it becomes 75 to 100 pounds. And I'm pulling this with some of my best guy friends. And we're setting an intention and we're pulling this tire. And she knew I was doing this. And then after that, we stop and pray because I like to pray. And what we just did was pull this tire, and it became really challenging. So it was nice to pause. We prayed, and then for some of my friends, the most challenging part came up, and I said, okay, now I would go to my stopwatch and I'd say, okay, now we're going to get out there and we're going to swim for 8 minutes. Everybody knows my favorite number is 8. So we'd go swim out into the ocean, and that for them was really hard. And that was the plunge part of this. Well, this client, business advisor, friend, said, well, that's your show. It's simple. Pull, pray, plunge. And I said, no, there's just too many crazy variables, like outside, like what if it rains or it's too hot, or what are we gonna do for microphones, and what about the perfect lighting and the moodiness of being indoors in the right studio? And she said, well, that's exactly it. People don't need that or even want that. Everybody's inside recording with the perfect answers, with the perfect lighting, and everything's perfect. Well, people just want that real and raw part of life anyway. They want to tap into that part inside themselves. And if you could bring that out of them, then how beautiful would that be? She said, that's your show. So it started to percolate in my head and in my heart. And I started thinking, okay, maybe that could become this sort of outdoor version. And I sat with it. And I thought, okay, pull, pray, plunge. Well, the more and more I thought about that, I thought that's who I am. Because what it does is it allows me to get my guests out in the sand and at the beach and get them moving. And everybody knows my love language is not one of the top 5. It's the 6th love language, which for me is movement. And when I can get people to move, and when I move, and when you move, we create emotion. We create momentum. We create even honesty and truth. And then when we stop and pray, there's an intention set in that, and there's breath work in that, and there's a calming that comes over us, a peace that comes over our bodies and our spirits. And then getting in the water, well, some people will never get in the ocean. Maybe they say because I don't want to, but also because they just won't have access to the beach. What I want to do is I want to take this Adam Cobb Show indoor edition. I want to take this to what I like to call home. Sort of a coming home. And for me, coming home is moving my body. And I believe that is for you too. I think coming home is pausing and being with my center and praying and meditating and doing breath work. And coming home for me is being connected to the water. I've always had the most insightful journal entries when I was sitting by the water. I always felt fluid and connected to the ocean and to water. So this is, if you want a title for this sermonette or this last indoor Adam Cobb Show episode, it's Come Home. Because I'm going to be coming home to myself, and I'm hoping coming home to you, that you get sort of access for yourself to come home and be inspired by movement and by pausing in prayer and meditation and by plunging in the ocean and by watching myself and guests make a recommitment, going into the water, plunging into the ocean and sort of coming out with a release or a letting go or a surrender and stepping out and committing to something new. And that's going to be the format. It's called Pull, Pray, Plunge. And I'm so excited. This marks a transition from the Adam Cobb Show indoor edition to transitioning to Pull, Pray, Plunge. It's going to be our flagship series, Pull, Pray, Plunge with Adam Cobb. And I'm going to have guests on, and it's going to be lots of fun. I think there's going to be lots of laughs. I think there's going to be lots of tears. I think there's going to be a lot of truth. And I believe there's going to be lots of emotions shared. And I cannot wait to share it with you. We have an incredible lineup of guests. And I cannot wait to hear from you about how this series impacts you, what it brings up for you. And who knows, maybe one day I'll get to see you with your toes in the sand, with a tire attached to your back, because I do believe that our culture tells us we got to push harder and push a little bit more. I believe we're meant to pull people towards us and pull life to us. I believe, as you know, iron sharpens iron. I believe we're meant to gather together and pray together and breathe together and be with each other. And I believe we're also meant to plunge 2 feet in to everything we do. Our last guest, last episode, Scott, talked about the letting go of the church to step fully into the lab. And this plunging part, you're going to see guests making a full 2 feet plunge into the ocean and making a commitment and coming out and committing to something new. And I don't want you to be just a spectator, though it's going to be fun to watch. I want you to make those commitments too. And do that all in, 2 feet in. And I hope to see you on the sand one day. So until then, get out there and make a difference. I'll see you soon.